Greetings from the road. I'm in Minneapolis for a few days, interviews and B-roll. But this shoot here was a local job for me in San Antonio. I was a DP and back on sound, medical, testimonial, shot a couple interviews at a house, an Airbnb. This is a production company based in Los Angeles that I used to work for a couple times a year when I was based in Southern California. But I haven't really heard from them since I moved, and they reached out because they had a shoot in San Antonio. At this first location, we've got 2 interviews. The first one is single person, and the second one is 2 family members seated side by side. So set up 2 FX9s for a primary angle and then a closer profile. And then when we go to the 2-person mode, it's a 2-shot and a roving single. Did everything with a 50mm and 85mm prime, both at aperture 2.0, high base ISO on the cameras, and variant D enabled to set the desired exposure. Set a few 60Xs on the wall in the background to create some gradients, motivated sunlight, and then a Zune 500 bicolor with the Octobox for key. This 500 has been my aperture replacement for interior interviews. I like it because it doesn't have a separate power supply, and it's bicolor, where I opted to go with the 300Ds for the extra punch, specifically for shooting TV news. We're loading out, and then we broke for lunch. We have a company move, so pretty quiet neighborhood. We end up just leaving everything on the porch here while Beck and I had lunch. No problems, just checking. All the gear is still here. What's that? That shock mount's terrible. Is it the shock mount that you're fighting with? Second location of the day is a Firehouse in San Antonio. Shooting B-roll, switched over to the FX3, on and off the gimbal, some tripod, some handheld. And most of the B-roll is sync sound with subjects mic'd up with electro wireless lavs. And then Beck also did a little bit of booming. We are timecode jam synced time of day between the mixer and the FX3. Has got a lockbox velcroed to the bottom. And then I used the DJI kit Wi-Fi mic to do a single channel hop from the mixer to the camera. This is just for reference for the editor. And then Beck would do long rolls on the sound side because he was trying to just capture nat sound and natural sound bites, independent of whether or not I might be rolling. First job with the flags installed on the van, couldn't have been more appropriate. Working at a San Antonio fire station. Beck did a good job. I was going to make new panels for the rear doors and then use like fender washers and screws to screw into the new panels, and Beck's like, neodymium magnets, I've got some old broken ones here, we'll use those. So came out pretty good. I like it. And the flag store guy suggested I was going to attach top and bottom, and he's like, nah, only do the top, let them move in the breeze. Yeah, I had all the cases staged in the driveway with the van opened up, so therefore it starts raining. About half packed. It's gonna be 4 cases on this trip. It's always a stressful process going from van mode to airline mode, back to van mode, back to airline mode. Next 6 weeks is going to be a lot of that process. Next shoot day, Irvine, California, my old home base. We ended up at a office building minutes away from my old office when I was a partner at a production company. I know this grind on the 405 all too well. Anytime I go back, it feels like I never left. So setting up in this building, I don't know the name of this building, but I think it used to be the Floor Daniel building. And there was an action film, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, that was filmed in this building. And there's a bunch of tenants in there now, so we're out in a common area. And that's all I've got for BTS. I was too busy working. So I have these old newer LED panels that I use for airline travel, and I forgot that I need to separate the lollipop stand attachment from the light. I left it on there, and it snapped off one of the pins on the gold mount plate, but fortunately I got a whole package of leftover parts back at the house in San Antonio, so quickly swapped out the plate before checking on dinner and then getting on the road to Houston, Texas for the next leg of the same project. Decided to take my wife's pickup truck because we are staying at a hotel in downtown Houston, and I knew I was going to have a clearance issue, wouldn't be able to park my van down there. And then this was also the day that the Burano 2.0 firmware shipped. So sitting in a hotel room in downtown Houston in the middle of a project, always the most opportune time to do something risky like a firmware update. But because Sony sent me a loaner cam and I got to test drive 2.0 before it shipped, I had a high level of confidence I wasn't going to have any issues with the update, and we switched over. Now, unfortunately, the show I'm on doesn't really take in benefit to any of the new features. We're just shooting UHD and XAVC-I 2398 S-Log. So we had kicked around the idea of maybe shooting anamorphic this year, and ultimately I decided not to. I was getting nervous because we have such limited time with these executives that we feature on camera, and I don't have hair and makeup present, and I was worried adding the anamorphic factor to the mix would just increase the risk of facial distortions from the lenses. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll only shoot B-roll anamorphic and I'll do the interview spherical. And in the end, I decided to table it. Maybe for 2026, we'll do gimbal B-roll on anamorphic. We'll see. So our talent's only available for an hour, and we've only got this one room available, downtown, high-rise. And the best option was a view outside. It was overcast, tinting on the windows. Now, unfortunately, these windowsills were kind of high, and they didn't have any tall chairs available, only low chairs. Now, if this were just a regular assignment for me, I would have switched to a tighter lens, like an 85, and composed a bit differently to not see so much white wall below the windowsill. But because of the specific needs of this award show, where I'm going to make every candidate look the same, I don't want to vary the photography to bias anything. I had to go with the 50 and just have a little bit more white wall and frame than I'm normally comfortable having on a project of this budget level. After the interview, we shot B-roll around the campus. I did all of that on the FX3 gimbal-based, and I did come off the gimbal briefly for a couple of some coverage of some staged meetings. It was just quicker and more dynamic to go active stabilization and shoot FX3 handheld. I'll wrap this one up with the price of fuel in Houston, Texas. And then I went home for a 2-day weekend before jumping back on the plane for the next leg of this show, and we'll cover that next week.